very warm welcome to this episode of our PowerUp Business Summit. We are here today to discuss about rebooting economy post-corona. My name is Jaya Obhan and I am the founder of PowerUp Business and Jaya Obhan Training Systems. We are majorly into helping corporates and individuals for their people development initiatives and HR consultancy. I am a certified psychotherapist and have authored my first book year before last called Stuck in Love. And I am going to today introduce you to our renowned and experienced speakers whom even I am looking forward to hear and have certain insights about how and what we are going to implement or strategize or do to make our businesses scalable, our lives scalable, and how do we go ahead with this pandemic and just do the best that can happen for us. So with that, let me introduce my first speaker, Abhijit Sansgiri. Abhijit is a CA and a law graduate with 30 years of experience. Areas of learning are governance, risk, control, fraud, and money laundering. Speaker at various professional forums across the country over last 20 years and a contributor to technical journals and magazines. A spiritual giver to the core. He believes in being helpful, useful, relevant, and to have trust with entire integrity. So I welcome you, Abhijit. Thank you so much for being here as a speaker.
Yeah. Thank you, Jaya. Thanks for inviting me.
Abhijit, what is the risk landscape going to be in the future? What is the risk landscape going to be in the future?
So, Jaya, the risk landscape, if you see, it's changed and it's not changed at the same time. So when you look at risk which starts with the basic premise from which risk proceeds is risk identification, and nothing has changed. So one needs to identify risks, one needs to respond to risks. That's not changed at all. Now what's changed is whether we can identify the risks. Now this virus was a risk which nobody anticipated. Now when it struck first in Wuhan, people just dismissed it as something it could be easily contained in that area, or it's just a country specific risk. So nobody anticipated that the risk will spread so fast and so quickly across practically every country in the globe, and it would have such a devastating impact. So nobody anticipated the risk. Nobody anticipated the speed at which this risk traveled throughout. And till date, when there is a risk, has to be a response. And till date, we have just not been able to respond to this risk. Now, you always had black swan events coming in the depression of 2008, this was initially compared to that. Now, this is even more severe as terms of impact is concerned to any other risk which maybe a lot of us in living memory have ever seen. So the issues which going ahead is we would be looking more at such disruptive risks. What can disrupt us completely? The BCPs for which all organizations were prepared were just for about maybe a week or maybe 10 days or so. I think one would be looking at long-term disruptions. We haven't found a cure yet for this. So when you talk of risk treatment, it's either one is you avoid the risk. Now it's something like you need to avoid getting infected with this virus. So immunity or preventive health care is that you don't get it is something which was a normal risk response. This is what will gain steam going ahead. You tend to accept the risk. It's something is we have to now live with it. So risk acceptance will be common, and then you adapt and adjust to the risk, and maybe you transfer the risk. So how do you transfer it? It's basically there's no treatment yet. So in certain points of view, the risk landscape will completely change in the manner in which we'll talk ahead on how it impacts organizations, because it's going to have a major impact on organizations going ahead. As we see, the global agencies have all estimated our GDP to contract by at least 5% next year. And when you're talking of a 5% contraction, it means huge. There'll be huge unemployments. There'll be huge downsizing of incomes, huge downsizing of jobs, and maybe within that scenario, whoever would be the fitter among the fittest, because the market share will shrink. Anyway, there was consolidation which was happening across the industry. I think consolidation will be much more. Some industries will gain at the expense of some other industries, and within the industries which are there with a lower market share, somebody who's more adaptable and who can manage this, maybe with having the ability to be the last man standing or with deeper pockets, can survive this. So it requires an altogether new strategy and altogether new approach to risk. Fundamentally, identifying risk and responding to risks as a general process will remain as it is. Now, what risks will arise, how deep rooted they would be in the impact, whether we can find a response to those risks, and if we don't find the response, then how do we adjust to those risks and accept that and go ahead to the best ability as we can, is what we will need to do going ahead. So I think to that extent, nothing has changed, but everything has changed.
That's so true. Yes. So thank you, Abhijit, for that. It was really insightful.